Hey everyone, what's up? My name is Brittany and today I'm going to be doing a video about some of my most favorite books that I read during my childhood. Today I kind of wanted to do like a big throwback, and I'm talking fresh out of the womb, but I just started reading throwback. So I'm going to start with my very first kind of bookish memory up until grade 6, and I'm going to share some of my most impactful books that I read during that time, and I hope that you'll stick around and watch this video. So let's just get started. Okay, so if somebody came up to me today and said, Brittany, what is your very first bookish memory? Like as far back as you can remember. It would definitely be this time, and I remember it so vividly, going into the store with my grandfather, and I must have been about 6 years old, and him just being like, whatever you want, I'll buy it for you. And instead of getting me a toy or candy, I had my little eyes set on this Mercer Mayer Little Critters book, and it was called Just Go to Bed. And definitely if you were born in the 1990s, you've heard of the series. It was super popular when I was growing up as a kid, and I had tons of them laying around in the house. They were mainly known for just being kind of like picture books. They had, you know, a few sentences here or there, whatnot. It wasn't a huge storyline, but I absolutely thought that the little critter on the front of this cover was just the most cutest thing in the world. Mercer Mayer has been writing these books for a very long time. I did a little bit of research. He first, I believe, published this series, or started publishing these books back in like 1975. So it's pretty crazy that like 1991 is when I was born, when I was blessed upon this earth, and these books have been going strong, and I feel like they are still going strong. But these are definitely books that I'll be passing down to my future little children. So I'm pretty sure that absolutely everybody has heard of Dr. Seuss. My second most impactful book that I read when I was younger was Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. And it's because I associate such a wonderful memory with it when I was younger in grade 1. And I remember in grade 1, in my classroom, Miss Kenny would always have reading time, and she would always read books to us. And this one particular day, she was like, does anybody want to come and like read for me? And it was really unlike myself to be like, hey, I'll do it. But I ended up being like, hey, I want to help out. And I ended up helping her read Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. I don't really remember how well I did, because I was still kind of a little bit of a nervous bug at that age. Yeah, it's such a special memory, because after I finished helping her, she came up to me after class and gave me this like little kind of keepsake that I've held on to for a very, very long time. So I am 26 years old now, and I have kept this little keepsake since grade 1. So you can imagine, it's a long, long time. And she ended up giving me this like little ring, and it's just like a cute like little ballerina kitty ring. But I've had this forever, and I think it's so important to me, this memory, because when I was younger, this was kind of like my first like bookish milestone. You know how we all like the very first book that you remember reading, the very first book series that you completed, or the very first book that was like more than just a few hundred pages. Like, to me, those are like achievements, and this was the first book that I remember, you know, finishing, you know, the very first page until the very end. And so it was kind of like a milestone and like a little achievement for me at that age. And I'm gonna keep this like little ring forever. And Miss Kenny was like the sweetest teacher in the world, and I hope that she is doing okay wherever she is. So the thumbnail that I used is kind of a dead giveaway for this next one, and wasn't a particular book. It was pretty much the whole collection, anything and all things Mary-Kate and Ashley. I was obsessed with growing up, right down to like this particular conditioner that I used to make my mom go to Walmart and get. It was like banana scented, but because it had Mary-Kate and Ashley's name on it, I was like, I need to have it. And I just remember growing up and reading Two of a Kind and all of these different little branch off series of Mary-Kate and Ashley, and they were just my absolute freaking favorite. And there was not an occasion that like didn't go by that my mom wouldn't buy me one of these books for like Christmas or Easter or on my birthday. And they were just kind of like, I think they were under 100 pages, but they weren't anything super deep. They kind of just dealt with like isolated social awkward situations, and it's like heartbroken when they stopped acting. But I loved them growing up, and they were a big part of my childhood, and I own probably like 50 Mary-Kate and Ashley books. So okay, so my final book that I'm gonna freaking talk about, and I know this video is a little bit short for books, but I mainly just wanted to talk about the books that were the most impactful growing up, and this is basically it. I read a lot when I was younger, but I don't really have memories of those books because they didn't really impact me at all, and these ones were just, they bring back such wonderful memories, so these were the ones that I wanted to talk about. And this next book that I want to mention was, I had read it in grade 6, and it was probably the most emotionally provoking book that I read at that age. And I remember picking it up at a scholastic kind of book sale that we would have after like parent-teacher meetings, because you know your parents would be there and they have their moolah in their bag, so you'd be like, Mom, please buy me books, and they'd be like, okay. And I convinced my mom to get me this book, and that is Olive's Ocean. And so it's the first book that I read that was kind of like made me realize that I'm not just a little child anymore. This is kind of like my coming out of my pre-teens age book. And that was because it dealt with death. It dealt with your first real crush. And I'm not talking like kind of like him, but like, ooh, he still has cooties crush. Like your first peck. You know what I mean? Your first peck on the lips or the cheek, or you know, you got the butterflies going. And I just remember this book making me cry at the end. I loved this book so much, and I actually picked up this copy at Value Village, and it's hilarious because I couldn't recall the title of this book for the longest time. And you know when you are trying to find a song or whatnot and you go onto Google and you type in like the few lyrics that you know in hopes that the song will kind of pop up? Well, I would type in a little bit of the story into Google, what I remembered, and like nothing would come up. I'm like, God damn, what the hell is the title of this book? And then I saw this on the shelf at Value Village one day, and then it just like triggered me, and I was like, this is the friggin' book. But these were all of the books that I read growing up, and it's funny because it kind of comes full circle from like my most favorite book memory of my Dr. Seuss book in grade 6 during my like grad year, and my theme for grad was Dr. Seuss. Like, how cool is that? And if I can find a picture, I will insert a picture here, but like you can't make fun of me because my dress was homemade by my step grandma, and God rest her soul, I loved her so much. But it was so sweet that she made it for me. I was definitely the most stylish in my grade 6 grad. But it was so cool because we all had these Dr. Seuss hats that were handmade. We all, instead of signing like yearbooks, we all signed each other's hats. And I still have that back at home with my mom from grade 6. And it's really cool because it kind of just came full circle. My very favorite book memory to grade 6 graduating, and I'm blossoming into this little teen. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. What was your most favorite book that you read during your childhood? And are there any books that like are huge in your country or where you are from that I haven't like mentioned or people wouldn't really know about? Because I know it's different depending where you live. And I feel like in Canada and the States, like a lot of people would probably know about these books, but I'm sure that there's some like really cool folk tales and stuff that people grew up having read to them by their parents and whatnot. So if you want to share some of those books down below, I'd be like super eager to check them out. And I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you'll give my video a thumbs up. I hope that you'll subscribe if you're not already subscribed. and I will check your cool cats later.
So